Bitcoin is something much bigger than money, perhaps. Like it's almost like a social institution that is potentially disruptive to our conception of civilization. Like the institutions we have today, they might not be relevant in the future on a Bitcoin standard. Or I guess the other way to look at it might be money is something much more intricately related. Like maybe it's something I want to talk to you about. Is it a psychotechnology? Is it not? It's kind of like in our mind, but it's kind of not in our mind. That maybe that, money itself is something much more indispensable to constructing civilization than we currently respect or understand.
Okay, well, let me try and give an initial historical argument that you're probably familiar with from my series that would strengthen strengthen the pertinence of that question you just posed. I think that's a really good question. So first of all, what is a psychotechnology? So technology is just a system of tools, right? A physical tool is something that is designed to fit me. Here's my tool from earlier and enhance my capacity. I can't carry around very much water in my hand, but I can carry a bottle in my hand, which can carry much more water in a stable fashion. So what I do is I shape something to fit me and then enhance my ability.
Yes.
A psychotechnology is not designed to fit your body. It's designed to fit the way your cognition works. And what it does is it fits your cognition in a way that's like it's generated socially, like the tool is outside of you, right? And it's standardizable. Like it's designed to work in terms of, like common principles of how cognition works. That's how it's different than your own particular skills. A psychotechnology can fit many people's minds and enhance their information processing, their problem solving capacity. So a non-controversial example is literacy, right? So literacy is not natural to you. Neither is it your particular skill. What we have is a standardized way of representing information and transmitting information that fits the way human memory and perception works. And yet it massively enhances your ability to solve problems. Think if what would happen if I reached into your mind and took literacy away from you. Think of all the problems you couldn't solve, the ways you couldn't relate to your previous self or your futures. Like you would be drastically shrunk as a cognitive agent. Your ability to connect other people would wither away
without literacy, right? I don't even know how to imagine not having it.
You can.
Oh, like a meditative type state?
Well, no. I mean, remember, most people for most of history have been illiterate. But once you have literacy, you have so internalized it. It's called the Stroop effect. That it's impossible for you to, like, if I hold this up and say, don't read these words, you can't do it, right? You can't do it, right?
How'd you know?
So, right, that's a psychotechnology. Now, here's the thing about psychotechnologies. They are invented for very prosaic reasons, but like we just did with literacy, they deeply permeate into our cognition, that we become identified with them as they deeply empower us in distributed cognition. Like literacy gives you distributed cognition with other people and also with other temporal versions of yourself. You can write to your future self and you can look back at things you previously have written. And that is how we do a lot of our work, right? We're networking through literacy, powerfully.
Yes.
Okay. So they're adopted, but they're like, we internalize and we identify with them. And so what happens is it really empowers your cognition in new ways. And notice how, for example, if I took literacy away from you, your ability to track your own mind gets really shrunk. All you have is what you are aware of in introspection, which is like, right?
Yes, yeah.
But when you can write things down and note things down and journal and right, you can find many more of your own mistakes, many more of your own errors. You can read other people's work about how to look for errors. So you become very aware of your, precisely because it empowers you to debug your cognition, you also become more aware of how buggy your cognition is.
Right. Yeah.
And so that was one of this alphabetic literacy, like it's invented by the Phoenicians and then it's taken to the Greeks. And then the Greeks add vowels, and they also standardize the direction of reading, which massively improves it.
Yes.
And it helps to drive what's called the axial revolution in Greece. People start thinking of themselves in fundamentally different ways. They start thinking of the world in fundamentally different ways. They're aware of how self-deceptive they are.
Yes.
And they're also aware of how much they can transcend themselves and learn about themselves. Socrates, know thyself. All of this because of alphabetic literacy. But here's an interesting thing, because it's both a physical technology and a psychotechnology. Same time, you've got mobile armies, and trying to finance them through direct barter is like, it's really hard.
Mm-hmm.
They invent money.
Right.
And the money is invented for mobile armies, right? Coinage. And so coinage, and you are talking about it, it's this massive, power, right? And for all the reasons you've articulated, but it's also a psychotechnology. Because coinage makes you think in terms of an abstract symbol system, and it makes you do arithmetic and calculate about it.
Yes.
That isn't natural before coinage to everybody.
Right. Yes. And the economists would say, Austrians at least, economic calculation is made possible through coinage or money. And that's, so when you're, what am I going to do today? You're planning a vacation or you're running a business, like this language of accounting, if you will, it's made possible through the standardization of coins or money.
And there's other things like, the Venetians invent double entry account keeping, and they get a huge economic advantage, right? Or you get, Descartes invents Cartesian graphing, and science takes, right? Psychotechnologies are tremendous, and they transform us way beyond their original intent.
Yes.
Way beyond their original intent. So I think it's, go ahead.
So sorry, I was just going to add mathematics. I mean, even more fundamentally, right? I wrote some about the Hindu Arabic numeral system. When we discovered the number 0, it just swept the world,
Try doing math with Roman numerals.
Right.
Try it.
Yeah. It's terrible.
So that's the power of psychotechnologies. Now, the thing about money is it's really interesting, right? It's like literacy in the way it links us together. And we can also, it internalizes new ways of thinking fundamentally. But but like you said, it's also something out there, right? That belongs to distributed. I on my own cannot make money. That doesn't make any sense. I'm on a desert island. Here's my money.
Yes.
Who the heck cares? Like, there's no money, right? The pieces of paper, other than their museum value from the American Confederacy, are not money. Right. They're historical artifacts, but they're not money. Right.
Yes.
And so I'm interested in like what you're talking about. And what I'm doing is giving you a buttressing argument that money is a psychotechnology, but it seems to also be doing this other thing, which I suggested to you earlier, if I'm understanding you. It seems to be mediating between individual and distributed cognition in some important way.
Yes.